Hi, welcome to Alpha Militaria TV. Thanks for tuning in once again. My name is Richard Saunders. Now, you may have seen some of our reviews of air rifles on the range. We're changing things up a little bit today, and I brought a gun down to one of my permissions to talk through the rifle and the scope, and then hopefully do a little bit of hunting as well. Now, the rifle itself is made by Swedish company FX Airguns. Probably one of the most popular rifles out there right now. Certainly very, very popular with hunters. It is the FX Impact MK2, and the scope on top is a PARD 008 LRF. And I'll talk about the scope in just a little while. But to talk about the gun to start with, now I don't think it's quite right to say that FX started the bullpup fashion, but they certainly made it very, very popular with this rifle. And FX rifles in the UK are distributed by the Sportsman Gun Centre, and retails for around about £1,800 depending on which version you get. Now, there are actually two models. There's the kind of this model, the standard model, and then there's also a compact model, the FX Impact Compact, which has a smaller air bottle and a shorter barrel. Now, this is the FX Impact MK2, and it comes in various different barrel lengths. You can get a 500mm, 600mm, 700mm, and an 800mm barrel for the .35 caliber. And in terms of caliber availability, you can get it in 177, 22, 25, .3, and that huge .35 caliber, which is 9mm. Yeah, the barrel length kind of determines a little bit the model name. This is the 700mm barrel, and that means that this version is called the FX Impact Sniper. Now, I'm going to talk through the rifle a little bit from back to front, point out some of the key features, and then we'll zoom in on a few of those as well to show you them in some more detail. And then we'll go and have a little bit of a hunt, see what's about. So, starting at the back, you have this adjustable shoulder butt pad, and as you can hopefully see there, it slides up and down with this fastening knob here. It kind of looks uncomfortable, but you know what? It really is very comfortable in the shoulder. Just forward of that, this slot here is where the magazine goes, and we'll talk about the magazine in just a second. Then underneath it, you have a gauge for your regulator. This rifle is obviously regulated. Now, underneath here, this piece underneath here is the Plenum. Now, this is a slightly older model. This is my rifle, and it has the standard Plenum. Now, the Plenum is the part of the rifle that stores the air that's used to propel the pellet, each individual pellet. And higher FAC rifles have what's known as a power plenum, which is basically a larger unit in here, which means that the air can be stored at a lower pressure. Now, that power plenum is only available on FAC models, and although this is an FAC rifle, I just bought it before they brought the power plenum out, unfortunately. Moving ahead of that, you have very, very comfortable rubberized pistol grip, which is molded for your fingers. Now, you can swap that out for an aftermarket version if you want to. It's compatible with AR-15 style accessories. Ahead of that is the side lever. Side lever is very, very smooth, very reliable as well, and very quiet. That's what I quite like about it. It's very quiet to operate in the field. Then up here you have a safety catch, which is very nice. Again, an AR-15 style safety catch, with up is in the fire position and flat is the safe position. Now, the trigger itself is, triggers can sometimes be a bit of an Achilles heel for bullpups because of the distance between the trigger and the actual firing mechanism. I have to say, FX have done a fantastic job there, because the trigger is sweet as. Fully adjustable, 2 stages. It's a post and shoe trigger as well. very, very comfortable on the finger, and very, very crisp and predictable. Forward of that you have a pressure gauge to show you the pressure in your main bottle. Now the standard bottle is a 480cc bottle, carbon fibre bottle. You can get a 500cc bottle, and the compact rifle that I talked about before has a smaller 300cc bottle. Now I have, now ordinarily on the standard gun, this accessory rail comes to about here. Now I fitted an aftermarket accessory rail, this much longer one, which is made by Sabre Tactical, and that just means that I can mount my bipod much further forward than you can with the standard rail, and it also means that when I'm resting on a fence or a gate or on trigger sticks, I'm resting on the rail and not on the bottle itself. Now filling the rifle is achieved by pulling out this cap in here, which I have to say is a little bit tricky with this aftermarket rail, because you have to really kind of get your fingers in there, but on the standard rail it's very, very easy. On top of the rifle you have a Picatinny rail, which has got plenty of length for you to sight your scope perfectly, and there are accessory rails on both sides as well, Picatinny rails. Now, one of the great things about this rifle is its ability to be fine-tuned, tweaked and twiddled with. Now there are three main adjustment points. There is a power wheel here, which I'll show you in more detail later, which is numbered, and that adjusts the hammer spring and the power output. There's also the ability to make an adjustment with this little chap in here, which adjusts the valve, and then there's also an adjustment with an Allen key to adjust the regulator pressure as well. Now all that means is that you can adjust your regulator pressure, your valve spring, your hammer spring pressure, your valve setting, to really fine-tune your setup to make it perform optimally for the kind of pellets that you're using, the kind of ammunition that you're using. Now I'll be honest with you, it's probably of more use in FAC rifles, because you just have that, you know, more room to play with. But even for 12 foot-pound rifles, it still gives you a huge amount of adjustment capability to really fine-tune your setup. Now barrels is something of a speciality for FX as well, and they've done an awful lot of work developing different kinds of barrels for different ammunition, and their latest models are capable of shooting slugs and pellets. They're hybrid slugs, but you can get dedicated purpose-made slug liners for your barrels as well, and the liner is as the name suggests, is the piece that fits inside your barrel, has different twist rates to accommodate slugs, and you can also swap the barrel out for different calibers. So you can buy a 177 rifle and you can buy a barrel kit which includes a pellet probe and a new magazine that will take you up to a .22 caliber, for example. And that's really where all those adjustment capabilities come into play, because you can then tweak your setup to accommodate different calibers. And then finally, the barrel is threaded on the end to accept a silencer. Now this on here is the Donny FL Ronin silencer, and I should have said before that this rifle is a .3 caliber, and out of the box that comes out at 77 foot-pounds, and really fires those big pellets at a good velocity. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about magazine in just a little while, but in terms of shot count, for 12 foot-pound rifles 177 and 22, the shot count is just enormous, and well over 600 pellets on 177 and 22, you know, which is just phenomenal. Last you know, weeks and weeks of shooting. In the high-powered models, obviously that goes down a little bit. For this rifle, .3 caliber, with the standard Plenum, I get about sort of not quite 40 shots, which is ample for hunting. Models with the power Plenum get slightly more because the air pressure stored in the Plenum is lower. Right, let's talk about the scope now then. So the scope is made by a company called PARD. They've been around since 2017, and it's a Chinese company, and distributed in the UK again by Sportsman Gun Centre. And it's a digital scope, so it's a day-night scope. You can use it during the day, and you can use it at night by switching on an infrared illuminator. And the real benefit of this scope compared to many other day-night digital scopes is the fact that it's so compact. You know, it's tiny. It's about, I think, about 16 centimeters long, weighs 460 odd grams. You know, very, very tiny, very compact. And it's got everything in there. There's an integrated IR illuminator. You can adjust. There's a diopter adjustment on the back, a focus on the front. There's even a little short Picatinny accessory rail on the side here. And we'll go through that in a little bit more detail. Now there's two models. There's the PARD 008 is the model without a rangefinder, and then there's the PARD 008 LRF, laser rangefinder, which has this rangefinder unit on the side. You know, it's about the size of a matchbox, if not smaller. Now, if anyone who's ever shot at night will know, it's really, really hard with an air rifle to gauge the distance accurately at night, because the image that you see is so flat. Now, rangefinder really comes into its own at night, and you know, if I'm honest, if you could possibly spend the extra few pounds, it's definitely worth it in my opinion to get the LRF model, and that costs about £900, as I say, from Sportsman Gun Centre. The non-LRF product is a couple of £100 cheaper, and it uses an 18650 rechargeable battery, which is accessed in the back here. Now it's supplied with a battery. Now PARD will tell you that you get about 8 hours of use from the battery, and if I'm honest, that seems to me to be a little bit optimistic. It probably depends on how much you're using the IR illuminator. Now I'll be honest, I've never had a PARD go flat on me out in the field. That's never happened. But I do always take the precaution of taking a spare battery with me just in case, that I've never had to use. Now, as you would expect from a digital scope, it has all the usual features in terms of the ability to take photographs and HD video. And there are lots of different options for choosing your reticle style and the colour of the reticle as well. Now, magnification is the only thing that's a little bit compromised on the PARD. You basically get either 6.5 or 13 times magnification, which you know, doesn't have the huge range of other IR scopes. But you know what? I shoot rabbits out to 70 meters with this setup, and that 13 times is perfectly adequate for that, and the 6.5 times is perfectly adequate for anything shorter than that. There is a little bit of pixelation at night on the higher magnification at longer distances, but you know, that's to be expected. Nearly every IR scope that I've ever come across has had that problem as well. So I think that's everything on the rifle. Let's zoom in and show you some details on the scope. Now, in terms of the PARD scope, just to run through some of the main features close up here. This button with this sort of blue ring around is the on-off button, and the wake-up time between you pressing the button and the scope becoming live is very, very quick. I'd imagine, you know, no more than a couple of seconds. Now, on the top here, you have the main operational buttons. Now, this button here, that is your magnification button, so that scrolls through the 6.5 and the 13 times magnification. This button here with the little flag on is your rangefinder button. This button here with the IR on it, as you might expect, that switches on the integrated infrared illuminator, and then this is your menu button here as well. Now, one thing I have noticed is that when you're filming through the video mode, you get a date stamp comes up in the bottom right hand corner of the image. Now when you press the rangefinder button onto rangefind, that date stamp disappears. Now at the front here you have this adjustment just up here with this sort of little kind of flap here for adjusting the focus on your the target you're looking at. This up here is the IR illuminator, and you can adjust the beam quite a lot actually with this little bit of movement here as well, which is very good. And then at the back you have a diopter adjustment as well. Now the PARD is a zero eye relief scope, which means that you have to put your eye pretty much right up against the end of the front of the scope here. Now to help you achieve that, what comes with the rifle is this very good, very solid metal Picatinny rail that bolts onto your Picatinny rail and really gives a very solid anchor point. Now early versions of this, including this one, a lot of people found that they had to shim the scope in order to get the reticle in the center of the picture once it was zeroed, which wasn't a huge issue. I've got 3 or 4 bits of cut out Coke can between the scope and the rail here to do that. Now my understanding is that that has been addressed now with models that ship now, so there's no need to shim current shipping versions of the scope, which is obviously makes life a lot easier. Let's talk then a little bit about this magazine. Now the pellets I use in this are the JSB Exact Diablos in .3 caliber. They're 44.75 grains, and there's also a version of these pellets that are 50 point something grains as well, but I find these really accurate. Now the magazine itself, I believe I'm right in saying that originally the Impact shipped with FX's own design of magazine, which was perfectly fine, but had the normal size kind of capacity of shots. Then a company called Sideshot bought out this magazine and offered it to FX users as an aftermarket accessory with a slight modification to the gun itself, and it really took off, became very popular with FX owners, and I'm guessing FX and Sideshot got together and they did a deal, and now these magazines come as standard to FX Impact owners. Now to load it, there's a little lug here that you have to revolve around 180 degrees to take off this plastic faceplate. Then you can hopefully see inside here the chambers for the pellets. So it's sprung, and you just have to revolve that or rotate that round anti-clockwise until it stops, and then take your pellets, drop one in the top hole, and that holds that centerpiece in place then. And then it's simply a case of just dropping your pellets in one by one into the chambers, which is a little bit tricky one-handed. Now the magazine takes 23 pellets in the 30 caliber, and in 177 it takes, would you believe, 38 pellets. And the 2.2 and 2.5, I believe, don't quote me, I think take 25 or 28 pellets, something like that. Now I haven't filled up all the chambers there, just about 2/3 of them. Now once you've filled in all your pellets all the way around, you put that faceplate back on and then rotate that lug back around 180 degrees again to lock it into place. Now of course, once you've loaded up your magazine, you're going to want to install it into the breech itself. Now the magazine fits into the slot right at the back of the rifle here, and to do that you're going to need to pull back this side lever, insert the magazine into this rearward slot. There's a little catch just here that clicks to lock the magazine into place. Then you return the side lever and you're ready to go. Well, that's the FX Impact MK2 sniper and the PARD 008 LRF. Now, on my permission, I'm going to have a little bit of a mooch about so I can hopefully get a few shots at some rabbits, and then I'm going to shoot on into the dark so that I can show you how the PARD performs at night time as well. Right, so obviously it's dark now. I've got the infrared light on the PARD setup. We're using an infrared camera, so obviously you can see torch shine through the video camera, but obviously to the naked eye it's invisible. So yeah, let's go and see if we can shoot a rabbit or two. Now, hopefully you found the video useful. If you did, perhaps give us a like and hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like more information on the FX range and a whole range of other airgun topics and reviews, please take a look at our website, which is www.alphamilitaria.com. Thanks for watching.